join all of you in welcoming Miloon to our city and our country, indeed. The fact that you have come from the UN and are looking at an issue and the conditions in our country, which I think many of us believe is a shame, a shameful thing, a criminal situation in our country, that your comments, your talking about what you see will assist people who've been raising this issue for many years in having the issue given the level of seriousness that it warrants. So we welcome you for coming and shining a light on these important issues and bringing us ideas and advice drawn from the experience of people in other communities working to address issues of adequate, affordable housing for all the citizens of the world, underlined by the fact that housing is a human right. And that's contained in international instruments that Canada is party to. It's contained in the Ontario Human Rights Code. The code says that people in Ontario are entitled to acquire housing and to live in housing without discrimination on all of the grounds that are named in the code. Now that's written. We know that that is not a reality for many. Firstly, that there's a serious scarcity of adequate and affordable housing in this province. Supply is a big, big issue, and we hear that loudly everyone we speak with. We know that in spite of the fact of many announcements about money being spent, that new affordable housing is not being built. I know, and Miloon has spoken to this, that there's a lack of a framework. There is not a long-term strategy for addressing this issue between all levels of government in this country. And that without that, there will not be a solution. Without that, there will continue to be the cracks we hear about that people fall into as they attempt to travel down the road between programs that compete, that contradict each other, that do not provide a coordinated response to the issue. We hear, and I remember this very clearly from my days as a municipal politician in Toronto, about NIMBYism and the impact that it has. That even when funding is available for housing, delay, 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 delay. Delay that costs money, that can mean years will go before houses will be completed. Delay during which abominable things are said about people who need housing, particularly people who've had experience with mental health issues. The things that are said just are soul destroying. And then we see flowing from that municipal process, sometimes bylaws, which incorporate that NIMBY attitude, that discriminatory, hate-filled attitude. And we've heard a lot about that. We know that both for the private and the nonprofit sector, that there are lack of resources for meeting accommodation requirements, that there are lack of resources in terms of support services, that there are lack of resources for repair and upkeep, increased energy costs, physical modifications required by the aging community. There are many issues. We know that poverty is a major issue when we talk about the lack of affordable housing in this community. We need to focus on poverty if people are going to achieve the human rights that the Code and international treaties guarantee. Homelessness, we've heard much about that. We hear about overt discrimination based on there are many barriers out there. And we are hearing these as a part of our consultation. We just about finished hearing about the problems, and we hear about the strengths, the things that work as well. And now we need to go away and do something with it. We need to go away and write a report filled with recommendations on how to deal with this. We didn't enter into this process because we want to write a report to sit on a shelf somewhere. We entered into it because we want to turn rights that are written in the Code into a lived reality for people in Ontario. And that's what we're working to do with our recommendations. We will come up in our recommendations with actions for us at the Commission. We have a broad range of powers, and we're prepared to use them all. We know that in some areas public education is important and necessary, but we also know that we have to be prepared to file complaints on systemic issues against individual institutions, sometimes against government. We do those things. We want to work with all of you to find solutions that will give these rights to people that they're promised in a piece of paper somewhere. And that will require not just things for us to do, but things for you to take and use in dealing with levels of government. We've heard the need for an integrated plan from all levels of government. We hope our document and its recommendations will help in achieving that kind of framework. So I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you tonight, to getting the comments and the questions of our guests, because I know that will be useful. And in closing, I'd just like to say the reason we are here, and the reason we've been here for many, many years, and as I look around the room, there are a lot of people who have been here working on these issues for decades. My hair was brown and long and straight when I started talking with many of you and working on these issues. We know that we can solve this problem. We know it's not surmountable. We know what to do. We know what works, and we know what doesn't. And I'm hopeful that the work we're doing in our consultation will help us to get other people who are part of the solution to the table, believing those same things and doing the work that's necessary to turn people's lives into the life that was envisioned in the international Declaration of Human Rights, when the Ontario Human Rights Code was passed in the early 60s. A lot of work. We've done a lot of work before, and we'll